Hello everybody, this Mishnah is brought to you by the great outdoors where God does my lighting. So here's a question for you. Let's say that you're studying Torah. You're sitting there with your art scroll. Then you realize that it's time for you to recite the Shema. But wait! The page that you've opened in your Torah is actually the part where the Shema is sourced. Now since you've read the Shema in your Torah, has the obligation for your recitation of the Shema been fulfilled? According to the Mishnah, as long as you've set your heart to it or read with some sort of intent, then yes, you've fulfilled your obligation. Cool. But riddle me this. Big freaking bee. The real dangers of vlogging outside. Huge freaking bees. Imagine that you're sitting in your room reading the Shema and someone comes in and says, "Hey, can you answer him?" According to the Mishnah, it depends where you were in your recitation and also who it was that walked into the room. Say you were between blessings, not smack in the middle of a word or something, and it was someone you respected who came in and said, "Hey," according to the Mishnah, you can answer him back. But if you were smack dab in the middle of a paragraph and someone who you respected came in and said, "Hey," then you shouldn't really answer. What if it wasn't someone you respect? What if it was someone you feared, like your boss? Imagine that you're not in your room, you're at work. You're reading the Shema and your boss comes over to you and says, "Insert name here, have you done that accounting report?" Even if you're smack dab in the middle of the Shema, in the middle of a word, you're allowed to answer him. The Mishnah understands that you're afraid to get in trouble. So in sum, if it's a person you respect, you can answer him in between paragraphs. And if it's a person you fear, you can answer him even in the middle of paragraphs. Okay, great. But here's the problem. How do you define who you respect? Where does my best friend fall into that category? Can I say that I respect my best friend? Or does it only apply to people whom I'm obligated to respect, like parents and teachers? And what about everybody else? What about people who I don't respect? And then we get to fear, and fear is problematic as well. So the Hebrew word that's used here for fear is yirah, which does mean fear, but also means reverence. I mean, we're supposed to fear God and fear our parents, but not really fear them, just kind of revere them and see them as, oh, awesome. So what kind of yirah are we talking about here? The Mishnah explains that someone you respect is someone like a parent or a teacher, and someone you fear is someone who rules over you, like a boss. Okay, that's seriously problematic, because as I said, we're supposed to fear our parents as well as respect them, and also it doesn't answer the question of what I do when my best friend walks into the room. The Mishnah gives an alternate explanation, which I really like. Some authorities claim that the person to be greeted out of fear refers to one's father or teacher. That makes a little bit more sense. Yirah then is closer to reverence, not fear. While the person greeted out of respect is anyone sufficiently worthy to be greeted first. That means anybody. Now I really like this answer because it sufficiently solves the problem about what happens if my best friend walks into the room. More importantly, it brings up the fact that anybody that enters a room deserves respect. And going into this Shabbat, that's what I'll be thinking about. Respect. The Mishnah clearly agrees with what we learned in kindergarten, that it's important to be kind and respect one another. And so, dear Chavruta, I want to say how much I respect you. I respect that you're interested in learning about Mishnah. I respect your opinions, your comments, and with that in mind, I must respectively leave you to edit this video before the Holy Sabbath comes in. Sabbath of peace and Sabbath of joy to every single girl and boy. Also, by the way, according to my calculations, we'll be caught up to the Mishnah by the 28th. Bli neder.